Wahoo.
Wahoo?
Wahoo!
And now he's...
Look, I have to show off the shirt just a little bit, or else it's not worth it.
Wait, they can only see, like, the top.
Exactly. There he is, the boy.
He's not
You have to show up on camera at least once, so that's your penance.
I'm gonna pick you up.
There he is.
He's not even in the shot.
He's a good boy, though. Now he's in the shot. Now he's in the shot. He's a good boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Sai, I'm up here. Can you come to you? No? No? He deserves...
He's such a good old guy. Okay, sure. Why not?
He's not gonna let us. He's just... I know, we were supposed to make this one short.
I'm bad at math, but that's 4 pages.
Yes?
He's very distracting. One more time for the camera.
Say it at the same time. Ready? What did we watch today?
It's Crimson Peak.
Oh, baby.
He sneezed right in his ear. We watched Crimson Peak 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Also, and we don't normally bother, but Guillermo del Toro.
Yes. Guillermo del Toro. I will pronounce his wrong.
Guillermo.
I will pronounce his name wrong a couple times, and I apologize for that. That's just
Del Toro.
It's the braces as well as like the dyslexia making everything funky.
Yeah.
So I do apologize for. I'll try and fix it every time.
So
We both we saw this movie in theaters when it first came to theaters.
We saw it together in the theater.
Yeah.
Because we like Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
And we like ghost stories.
We saw the poster, and if you see that poster, you go, oh, dang, yeah, that's a movie I have to watch.
And I understand that lots of people didn't really like this movie because they didn't think it fit the genres they were looking for in a certain way.
No, it's like one of his lowest rating movies.
Yeah, they don't really like it. And I understand that. I just think that
they're missing out.
We watched it together recently, but I had watched it literally the day before.
So you've seen it 3 times, I've seen it twice.
Yes.
Yes, it's a good movie.
So
what is this movie?
This is a movie, as our main character says, it is a story that happens to have ghosts in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how she classifies it. As we all come to understand at the end of this film, the thing we just watched is her story that she wrote.
Yep.
And she says of the story that she wrote that it is a story that happens to have ghosts in it.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's what we say this is.
Yep.
It's a story that's supposed to take place in like we start off in America. That's important. And then we end up in England.
Let's do roll call real quick.
Yeah. So our main protagonist, her name is Edith.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to call her Blondie.
Yes. She's a writer.
She's a writer.
Her dad definitely, they've got the money.
They've got the money.
He's got, he's got so much money that he has people coming to him asking for investments in their work.
Let's do the Dr. Fellow since he's also American.
I was going to say
we started
also,
with the Americans.
Her dad exists too.
We just talked about her dad.
Okay, her dad exists too.
Yeah, Jim Beaver. Let's keep going. The Dr. Fellow.
Alan. He's a
Watson.
Yeah, he wants to be Sherlock, though.
He's a Watson, but he wants to be
doctor.
Sherlock.
He's an actual doctor.
Yeah, he's an eye doctor.
He's not ophthalmol.
Eye doctor.
Yeah.
He's an eye doctor. And that's him. He's her best friend, and they're friends. He might be interested in her. That's not important. And there you go. That's him.
Edith is... The Sharps find her.
Like an actual ghost story... Mm-hmm. She hears about them first, and then they appear to her very much like specters. Just, pew, there they are.
Yeah, he just suddenly appears while she's trying to type out her manuscript.
And it's Thomas
and Lucille. Thomas is a baronet.
What's a baronet? I don't know. She's explained it to me. I still don't know. His sister is also there.
His sister's also present. He's trying to get investment from her dad.
He wants to make machines that dig up mud, and he needs money for that. His sister is a lot. And then, after that, we go to our dead cast. There's
her mom.
There's just her mom.
Yes.
There's 3 wives.
Yes.
There's a baby.
There's another mom.
And then there's just the echo of children. Yeah. And there you go.
Yeah.
Yep. Ghosts.
The premise is that Thomas, he's looking for the investment, and he meets the daughter of the guy he's trying to get the money from. The guy says no, he doesn't want to give the money. In the meantime, Thomas has gone, I love your daughter, and he's like trying to woo her or whatever. And she's falling for it, and then the dad is like, you're sketchy, I don't like you. So he has someone look them up and says, you know what, you are too sketchy. And then because of that, he ends up trying to pay them off so they just go away. Somebody murders him, and then the girl that Thomas is trying to woo goes, oh, I need you now. And that's how we get to where we go.
The manor. So, just to get this out of the way before we start going into the deep end, I just want to make note of those costumes. And that set.
The cinematography and the lighting.
Boy, it's so good.
It's pretty and it's magic.
It's so good.
It's all the gothic we were ever looking for.
Oh my god. So the color theory. Everyone knows about the color theory in this movie, but I'll just make a quick note of it. She is that yellow butterfly. Yellow is her color. It is what shows when she's
most in control.
The red ghosts, it's the red mud. It's the danger. It's the blood. It's the meat. It's the gore. It's the heart. It's
you know what it is? Actually, I'll say this is it's a really beautiful marriage between the gothic version of a ghost and like the horror thriller gore version of a ghost. It's a really great adaptation to try and get both together.
The blue is his color. He's the blue pinned butterfly. He wears the blue color. She slowly takes on the blue color. And throughout the movie, the blue overtakes the yellow and eventually fades it away until she's just like stark white. I could go deeper into it, but there's better people out there talking about that, so I'll leave it at that. We have to go to a different Del Toro movie for the food theory. And we'll get there eventually. We'll get to my fishy husband someday. Let's keep going. I love him. Let's talk about Blondie.
Yeah. So something that a lot of people say that even like Guillermo del Toro says himself, it is a little feministy, but what it's really do is it's like they flip or play with the gender roles here or the gender expectations. And it's also of note that this is an era with like very strict gender expectations. Like there's very prescribed paths that people are supposed to be on. And Edith is at the outset like a new woman. She's like almost on a bicycle almost. She just is like, I'm free and I'm doing my thing. I'm going to write this book and I'll do whatever I have to do to be whoever I have to be, right? Like that's who she is at the outset. But that what we see throughout the film is like, yes?
What? Keep going, I'm good.
What we see throughout the film is different. That seems to conflict with later versions of her that we see.
Yes. Oh, you're talking about the two separate... Okay, I didn't know where you're going. That's why I was listening, but not really listening.
I noticed.
Watching
and I was
the
like,
cast. I don't actually know where we're going with this. And then I got it. I got it now. What? Oh, God. It's a little
like
ghost face
running
popped
around,
up.
I know.
Oh my god.
No, that's what we're talking about right now. Because I figured
Okay.
let's talk about that, right?
Yeah,
That's like not like revealing the whole thing without like talking about the thing. Like,
Yeah.
maybe. No?
What? Let's go.
I don't know. That version of her that we see at the beginning seems to be in conflict with later versions of her that we see. Like,
Yes.
we watch her and we go like, no, don't listen to the person telling you to stand right there. Like, do your own thing. Have agency. So what's confusing about this and what's interesting at the exact same time is that while the argument can be made that there are like flipped gender roles, as some scholars want to point out, it's very specific in the way that they get to be flipped and at what sequence in what point in time in the movie. Like, she is her assertive self, literally doing the Sherlock Holmes stuff when she's by herself.
Yes.
That is different than when she's with other people.
So stuck on the ghosts Wednesday, I'm sorry.
We can talk about them instead if you don't want to talk about Edith.
No, she is part of the ghosts. You can't talk about the ghosts and not talk about her.
I know.
When she's with other people, she is a lady of the times, you know? She's not out there doing stuff. She's a little progressive when she's back in her homeland, when she's back in America and she's around people that care about her. She's a little... you can tell by the way other people act around her that she's a little bit of an oddball. She writes stories about ghosts.
She doesn't start off confident.
That's what I mean. Yeah. She doesn't start off confident. She grows confident. But she grows confident because of the ghosts.
I do think that they are allowing her to find agency. I think that that's what happened. She does not demonstrate... Certainly, once she goes to Crimson Peak, she does not display agency. the like only moment we see her display agency in front of other people, except for when she's finally like breaking down all the barriers, is when they happen to be at the like post office or whatever it's called, and she's like, can we please just stay here for the night? Like that's the one moment we see her like having.
But even then, it's very much like a woman of the time being like, husband, let's stay here, please.
Right.
The only time she ever shows her agency to other people before the end of the movie is the very beginning of the movie, when she corrects a lady about what type of author she wants to die as, which is such a...
I also think it's just very realistic. She's like, I like the freedom of having been married and having money, but I don't want the responsibility of like having to still be with someone else. Like I'd like to have had that and moved past it.
Yeah, no, but the conversation is you're gonna die like as Jane Austen did as a spinster, and she's like, no, I'd like to die a widow like Mary Shelley. And you're like, this is a weird conversation. She doesn't say I'd like to be an author like Mary Shelley. No. She says I'd like to die a widow like Mary Shelley.
It's a very specific desire.
Okay, hun, you do you, and you know what? She accomplished her goals.
She did. Good for her. Yeah. And I think it's really interesting actually because we
Leave the plant alone.
Oh no. Boop. And he looks at the other cat like, did you do this to me?
No.
Yeah, he did it to you. That's right. She is denied like a book deal for her manuscript because they're like, well, it's because you're a woman and all that stuff. And she goes, okay, then I must type it so that they can't tell that I'm a woman. To make that move, to be who she actually is, she has to sublimate who she actually is to go with society's expectations. Right?
Literally, they're like, you should put a love story in it. And she's like, I don't want to put a love story in it. And then she puts a love story in it. Yes. And then Thomas is like, I really like the love story. She's like, well, okay. Someone appreciates my writing for once.
Yeah, we can get to Thomas in a minute.
We'll get to him, the sad boy he is.
But the point being that this was something she was already having to negotiate, even prior to the Sharps showing up. And like messing all of this up for her. She was already on a path where she was going to have to change herself to fit in. Or as I'm saying, she's not changing herself, she's hiding who she is to fit in, right? She's sublimating her actual personality to try and make it work for the society that she's in. And this is the same process that she's now dealing with in her role as a, quote, wife at this place. It's the same exact scenario of her trying to fit in and then finding that to do so, she has to change who she is or hide who she really is to be able to make this work for her. And the process that she goes through is one where she's realizing that hiding who she is, sublimating her personality, is not ultimately the right course for her.
No.
That this is not how she finds, like, I guess we could, self-actualization. This is not how she gets there.
And then by the end of the movie, she uses like the thing she's been keeping hidden to herself, being herself, basically as her weapon to win.
Yeah.
And did survive.
We didn't say that. Yeah, she can see ghosts.
Yeah, she can see ghosts.
So I mean, if you miss that point, and that's like her owning herself at the end, is she's, instead of like not telling everyone that she can see ghosts, she's like specifically using that power now and telling someone that she can see a ghost. That's how she wins like the boss battle at the end. So yeah, that's her like arc as a character.
Yeah, let's talk about Thomas.
I think the first thing that we have to talk about Thomas with, which is the point that will lead us to all the other points at the same time, like they're all the same points basically. But the first thing that you hear him say that makes you go, what? Is he's about to dance with supposedly the lady he loves.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, but it's really the first clue we get. He's about to dance with Edith. And something about this situation is uncomfortable. She tells him as much. And he tells her, well, just close your eyes. That's what I do when I'm uncomfortable. It makes it all better or go away or something like that is his line. And you're just like, oh no, this poor child. Which is the theme of his character, is this poor child.
It takes a second viewing to
get that.
But absolutely. First time you watch it, you're just kind of like, oh, ha ha ha, he's a handsome, what is he?
Baronet.
But yeah, no, first time you watch this, you're like, ooh, he's a mysterious baronet person, you know? He's got the monies. And then you find out slowly he doesn't got the monies. But throughout the whole story, you're just kind of like, he's that
mystical, like, dark European figure coming, you know, like I don't know what that is.
And even by the end of the movie, the first time you watch it, even with everything you learn, you're still kind of like, yeah, but he was always still like this in control, cool. And then the second time you watch it, you go, he's never in control.
No.
He makes like 3 decisions for himself in the whole movie.
Yes.
And each one is still biased and based on another person's feelings.
Yes. Talk about someone sublimating their personality for other people.
This poor kid.
He doesn't even have a personality. We're really honest here. The most of a personality he has are the automatons that he builds, the little toy things up in his little shop. Like, that's the most personality we see out of this character. It's weird. He's a very complex character. It's weird because at one level he just is such a child, right? And he's just so trapped by that. And at the exact same moment, he's an adult who's manipulating someone else. And it's just, when you watch it a second time around, you realize all of the moves that are just straight manipulation instead of like a falling in love scenario. Because you don't really catch it. You think maybe he did fall in love earlier on when you're watching it the first time. We don't have to talk about Lucille because we get no introspection on this character.
Everything that you see on screen is her. It's not because she's not deep, she's very deep.
She's very deep.
But it's all shown on screen or talked about.
There's nothing that allows us to learn more of her inner working that we don't already know on the screen.
We could talk about the ghosts.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, who are we going to talk about? Her dad? We talked about the dad.
No, we don't even
the
talk about
doctor?
Alan.
He wants to be a detective.
He wants to be a detective.
He walked 4 hours in the snow to get here.
He absolutely did. And he wants to be... Okay, this is the gender inversion stuff. He wants to be like the hero coming to save the day. He does not make that happen.
He gets stabbed real quick, twice.
I mean...
And then he's out and down.
I mean, like, she has to carry him out of this scenario.
I made a joke while it was like the ending shot where she's literally dragging him through the snow, where she's just like, "Are you all right, Alan?" And he's going, it's okay. We gotta breathing. I'm sure we can keep going. It's good.
You can't get stabbed in the armpit and then be like, yeah, I can go sit in a cellar for a while and then wander through the snow for a while.
Yeah,
like,
there's a lot of... Okay. Despite the fact this is a movie this is a movie with ghosts. There's a couple things you have to hold your disbelief for, you know? One of them is definitely the fact that he gets stabbed in the armpit.
The actual armpit. Like, it's just like, it's...
The other thing I was going to say that was you have to hold your disbelief for is her getting pushed off the railing and not breaking her back. Excuse me? She hits another railing!
With her back.
And it goes like...
And it breaks under her. And then she, like, helps break her fall, I guess, so she's not completely dead.
No, and she just broke a leg. You know, it's fine.
Where did she fall on her leg? She didn't fall on her leg. She fell on her back.
That was her spine. Like, at a later point in the movie, she, like, does a tiny jump that's, like, this far, and you hear... And she goes, ugh! And I'm like, yeah, that's her spine. They're like, oh, it's her leg. And I'm like, no, it's her spine.
Her spine's broken, and she's still running around, so there's that.
There was a third thing. I can't remember right now.
There is, like... Well, the candle would have blown out.
Oh, yeah, the candle.
That was the most contrived nonsense. It's just silly.
With how fast they were going?
I mean, other than that, like, there's not really, like, problems. Otherwise, it's like, it's gothic and it's mystical and it's magical and you should just buy it. Just buy the story. You don't have to argue with the story.
The mud can leak out of the walls from the second floor and you cannot question it even though the mud's underground. Like, you cannot, because that's, by that point, it's mystical, magical.
Yeah.
It's literally just the breaking of bodies that I go, I don't think so. So let's talk about the ghosts.
Yeah, let's talk about ghosts.
Speaking of creepy bodies that are just messed up.
Just not right.
Messed up. Those ghosts are awesome. I have not seen ghosts that cool before or since.
Yeah. Well, I think, okay, in my mind, part of what makes them cool is they're allowed to be more, like, it's a ghost-skeleton hybrid. Do you know what I mean?
In movies. I've seen ghosts that cool in other stuff.
No,
like
no, in
books
movies.
and
In movies.
Video games.
But I'm saying it's not like a ghost where it's, like, there's also, like, structural stuff to this ghost, which makes it a little different of a ghost.
It's Guillermo del Toro and his monsters. It's a monster.
Yeah.
It's not quite a ghost.
No.
But it is a ghost.
Yeah.
That's the fun part.
Which we get, like, a kind of classic ghost of the, like, shadow walker person at a certain point. That's, like, a classic ghost.
That's a classic ghost. Absolutely. A shadow figure. Yeah.
But we get one with, like, hands and, like, face and, like, stuff that, you know, is very physical.
We can literally see the body and then we can see the ribs moving inside the body because it's just interestingly translucent like that. The ghosts.
Yeah.
They're so cool.
They are. This is part of the genre issue, right? Like of what is genre are we in here? Because it feels there's a couple of jump scares, but there aren't very many, which makes you feel like maybe it's more gothic. But then there's a bunch of like it's very violent-y stuff with the ghosts, and like the body gore stuff with the ghosts is a lot, honestly.
But then at the same time, they're not malevolent ghosts.
I do think that's a really interesting piece. That was something I remember saying.
When we walked out of the theater, we're like, wow, those are the first good ghosts we've seen in a horror movie in so long.
I think this is why Edith makes the claim that she does, that this is a story with ghosts in it, not about ghosts. Because the ghosts are not the force that's making these things happen.
No.
I mean, they are part of the action, and they do move the plot forward, but like they aren't causing these issues. The ghosts are just a manifestation of a circumstance that already exists. And it's the circumstance that's the story here, and not the ghosts themselves.
I've seen haunted ghost movies with a ghost that was a good ghost, but it was working against evil ghosts.
Right, like normally they're agential, they have some sort of plan, and they're doing a thing, and
these ghosts are like actual spirits and like spooks and haunted. You know? Like they're not boo, I'm a ghost in a haunted spooky movie. It's more like the classic literature version of a ghost, which makes sense since this is all her story.
Mostly the ghosts act as signposts too, like literal signposts and figurative ones as well, but like their main role are just to tell her information, to try and give information to her, or to point her in a certain direction. Like that is their main role, all the ghosts.
Even Spooky Door Ghost. So spooky,
makes
by
like
the
a
way.
pig sound, which is just so not cool.
It's the worst. And I know why it's the worst. And I'll talk about this in a second. The door ghost, it is there just for her to immediately after closing the door, for her to rip the door open and be like, here's a box with information. The reason why some of the ghosts in this movie are so utterly terrifying is because of the fact that this is 2015, right?
Yeah, probably made around 2014-ish.
And around 2014-ish, another incredibly influential ghost thing that Guillermo del Toro worked on was released and then shortly taken off the market. PT, if anybody recognizes that, any gamers out there. So PT, playable teaser, is the most frightening game ever released and then substantially taken off the market. It's terrifying. I won't get into it. Literally. I won't. I'll start scaring myself if I get into it.
Don't think about it. Anyway,
But
the point is,
that game was worked on, well, that game was made, and then the game that was going to be... It's a teaser! It's a playable teaser for a different game that was supposed to come out, and that game didn't come out, and that game that was gonna come out but didn't come out was worked on by Guillermo and by Kojima. Masters of horror all the way around. It was a Silent Hill game. This was a Silent Hill movie, basically. And for anybody who gets that, you'll immediately go, oh, it's a Silent Hill movie.
and that's why the closet ghost.
And the closet ghost is like, it's the ghost from PT. This movie is a Silent Hill movie, basically, if you think about it. And I'll get into that later.
Yes.
When I watched this movie in theaters, for half of the movie, I was convinced that Thomas and his sister they were ghosts. I was convinced. And then we got to their house, and the doggy showed up, and I was like, that dog's a ghost. And then slowly the rest of the movie convinced me that they weren't ghosts until they became ghosts at the end, and that they were alive. But I was like, but the dog is a ghost.
Still, right?
The dog is a ghost. And then, spoiler alert, the dog dies. Violently, off screen, but we hear it. And I go, oh, guess the dog wasn't a ghost. I remember thinking that in theaters and quietly going, well, okay.
It's a ghost now.
It's a ghost now. But it is a ghost.
Uh-huh.
Sure, it's alive. And sure, Lucille and Thomas are alive.
But are they really?
They're ghosts.
They're also not.
They say they're dead. They say they've
say it
been
like
dead for a
twice.
long time.
They say it twice, don't they?
Both of them say it.
I know.
Both of them say it, and both say they've been dead for a long time.
And yes, you're like, oh, that's just metaphorically, they don't get to live the way that they want to live in their weirdness. And it's like, I don't know if that's exactly what they meant by that.
I know they were literally alive. I know that. We're not talking about the literal here. When do we ever talk about the literal?
No, we're not talking about, like, what is the material reality the film presents us. No, we're talking about, like, what possibilities exist at the exact same time. Like, they're both alive, and also they
ghosts.
are ghosts also at the same time.
Yeah.
Because, and this is very important, this is the reason why this can happen, this is Guillermo del Toro. He likes magical realism. Magical realism says it doesn't matter, reality can have nonsense in it too. Like, things can be and also not be at the exact same time. Magical realism doesn't care. So just remember that that's the genre that this director works in.
Right, the dog is a ghost. It plays with a ball from when they were children, and you see it in a mural on the wall later in the movie.
Okay, is it the same ball? The one that's in the mural?
Yes.
Is the same ball that she's playing with?
Yes.
Because the ball's a ghost too.
Yes.
Because the whole thing.
Because as soon as you step foot into Crimson Peak, everything is a ghost.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
My gosh. That is such a goth. Goth?
Goth?
I was trying to say author and ghost.